Hey racers, and welcome back for another live stream. The topic for today's live stream is how to be able to build or get A grade cardio, even if you only go riding once per week. So when it comes to cardio and conditioning, there's two areas or two systems that we have to build, okay, that help us to be able to have great cardio. One is called the aerobic system, and the other one is called the anaerobic energy system. So the aerobic energy system uses oxygen to help you to break down energy or calories or food, nutrients, proteins, fats, carbs, to be able to use as energy for you to be able to do the exercise or get your body to perform what it needs to perform. So the aerobic energy system, because it does use oxygen, it's not too efficient. And so what that means is it's very, very good at keeping us doing what we need to do for a long period of time, but it's not very good at allowing us, hey Leo, to operate at a high intensity. So just when I'm around in my day to day, even when I'm just talking to you guys now, it's aerobic energy system. I'm using oxygen to break down energy, to feed my brain, feed my muscles, and keep me alive. So this is the energy system that's very dominant in, say, like a marathon, okay, or doing a 30-minute cycle, or doing an Ironman. Okay, that's your endurance energy system. So the main thing you need to remember is it's very good at keeping us going for a long period of time, not very good at allowing us to operate at a high intensity. The other energy system that we have is our anaerobic energy system, which is the opposite to the aerobic energy system. So the anaerobic energy system doesn't use oxygen for us to be able to break down nutrients, break down food, break down energy for us to be able to be fueled. So what this means is it's using readily available energy, which is called ATP, or also breaking down carbs. So because it's not using oxygen, it's a very efficient system, okay, in terms of it allows us to operate at a very high intensity, okay? It can work very hard, very efficiently, but it can only do that for a very short period of time, okay? So to break those two down, so anaerobic, which we just spoke about, allows you to go hard in your body to operate at 100% intensity for a very short period of time. Aerobic is the opposite, allows you to operate for a long period of time, but at a much lower intensity. So when we're looking at riding and racing, you're probably going, okay, well, which one do I need to work on? Which one's the dominant one? And this is where a lot of riders make a mistake in thinking that it's the aerobic energy system, the long distance one. So if you take a motocross event, for example, let's say you're doing 20-minute motos. Okay, 20 minutes overall, if we just look at 20 minutes of doing work, that's aerobic energy system. Okay, we're at a consistent intensity for a longer period of time. We're chipping away for 20 minutes. But within that 20 minutes for a motocross race, there's parts of that are very anaerobic. So if you think about a motocross track, so over here in, let's say in Perth here, there's Coastal, which is a deep sand track. Now, there's parts of that track that can be smooth, or you can have smooth lines, which don't take much effort. But there's other parts of that track which are really sandy, really whooped out, big braking bumps, which take a lot of physical effort, okay? So during those high physical effort periods, we're no longer in the aerobic system, okay? We're in the anaerobic energy system. Our intensity is extremely elevated compared to where it was before, and we're doing that for a very short period of time. So like a section of whoops, or a section of braking bumps, or a tough area of the track. So we want to make sure we're building both, okay? We need to have both of those sorted. Now, this is the problem that I had when I was racing, is I was always focused on aerobic, okay? And I guess that's what most racers are focused on. We're all focused on the distance of the race and trying to train really, really long, which is great. But the problem is when we go back to racing, the fitness doesn't transfer over as well as what it should. And the reason is because when you go and race, you're operating at an intensity up here. When you go and cycle for an hour, or like for me, I was doing RPM sessions and doing like an hour and a half of swim training, the intensity's down here. Even if I'm training hard, even if I'm working hard, because I'm working for such a long period of time, the intensity automatically is down here, not up here. So an example of that is, let's say we went down to the park and I got you to run, and I just said, okay, I just need you to run from here as hard as you possibly can and just keep running. Don't stop, there's no finish line. What would happen is the first couple of minutes of your run would be the fastest. You'd hold the fastest pace, the fastest top speed. You'd be operating at your absolute best. Now, once you get past those initial, say, 90 seconds, first couple of minutes, what happens is the intensity starts to drop off. You can't hold the same top speed. You can't, you're not moving as quickly as what you were at the start. You're just slower, okay? Now, the effort you're giving after that 2 minutes is exactly the same. You're still giving 100% effort. You're still running hard, but your body can't keep up. It doesn't have enough energy to be able to keep feeding you or to be able to break down to keep you operating at the same pace. And so what happens is that's when we change into the aerobic energy system, okay? And what starts to happen there is we start to use oxygen to be able to keep us going for a longer period of time, but the intensity has to drop, okay? The body's not performing anywhere it's not performing anywhere near optimal in terms of where it was in the first couple of minutes, okay? So the effort is the same. Don't get confused with that. It's not about effort, okay? The effort is the same all the way through. It's just that your body can't keep up that same intensity, okay? There's too much happening. It's not, the anaerobic energy system isn't efficient enough to be able to keep you at that high intensity for a long period of time. It's only very efficient at doing those high intensity bursts for a short period of time. So we've got to make sure we train both of those. So how do we do that? So there's two ways we can do it. We can train it on the bike and we can train it with gym training during the week, or optimally we train with both. So what do I do for our riders? So what our guys do is, so I work with, majority of the riders I work with are either motocross guys or enduro guys. And there's a whole heap of, there's technical enduro guys, there's desert racing enduro guys, there's cross country, single trail, pony express enduro guys as well. So it's a broad range of enduro riders. So when we're training both of these energy systems, we need to be able to decide how we're going to map out our week. Okay, overall, we need to be training both of these systems. So the way that I do it with our guys is they do 3 training sessions per week. Okay, and so the second half of every training session, the workouts, the conditioning or cardio piece could go for 15, 20 minutes. We're working predominantly on the anaerobic energy system. Okay, so we're doing a lot of interval work, a lot of short, sharp, high intensity work. So if it's a rowing machine, it could be 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 15 rounds. Okay, if it's on the exercise bike, maybe we do 20 seconds on, 40 seconds off for 12 rounds. At the moment, we're going through a cardio or a conditioning building phase. So we're doing 20 minutes worth of intervals and training for the cardio and the conditioning side. So that tackles our anaerobic work. And then what I encourage our guys to do on the weekends is to go out and do their longer stuff. So if they're for the enduro guys, go out and ride for 2, 3, 4 hours. Okay, go and do these longer rides and build your aerobic energy system while you're riding the bike. For the motocross guys, similar. Go out, if you're doing 10, 15, 20-minute motos, go and practice doing 10, 15, 20-minute motos. The other way that you can work it, and what I also include as part of our weekly training as well, is usually I'll throw in an aerobic session that's something that's a little bit longer, more steady state cardio work to help to build that energy system, but you could also flip it around. You could do, say, maybe 1 or 2 longer distance cardio sessions during the week, and then go and build your anaerobic energy system when you get on the bike. So if you get on the bike a couple of times a week, then you can do that. What I find to be more efficient is to do the anaerobic short, sharp stuff during the week, because number one, it's easy to do in a gym, and number two, that's where most riders need to work. It's not with their aerobic system. And with the aerobic system, we can get away with doing a little bit less work, and we can just do one of those on the weekend. Okay, go and do a longer ride or do some longer motos. And then that way you've got both bases covered. Okay. Biggest problem I find though is riders don't have both bases covered. Okay. They're not working both energy systems. So in terms of being overall good at cardio, good at conditioning, let me just get rid of this pop-up. They're not as well-rounded as what they need to be. And so one of the problems I had for racing is, and I could never work this out. 14 years of racing and training, I could never figure this out. So 2 periods of time in my racing years stands out. Is there's one time for 5 years I did swim training. And so I was swimming with club level swimmers that were doing swimming events. Now, I wasn't interested in doing swimming events. I just thought, okay, well, this has got to be really good cardio, really good conditioning for building my riding. Like we're training for an hour, hour and a half, 3 or 4 times a week in the swimming pool and going up, down, up, down, up, down, clocking up the Ks every night. So I did that for years, 5 years. Another period of time later on in my racing is I was doing RPM sessions or spin class sessions. And so I'll do them 3 or 4 nights a week, and they would go for 45 minutes or an hour at the gym. And we do, like they had, if you've never been to one, they have like the instructor at the front, they've got different music, and you practice going up hills, down hills, changing the resistance, just 45 minutes or an hour of pedaling on the exercise bike. Now, the funny thing is, like you would think, right? If I'm doing swimming 4 times a week, I'm doing four hours minimum, okay, of swim training, or I'm going and doing these RPM sessions. I'm doing 3 or 4 hours of cardio a week, right? On these spin bikes. You would think, all right, well, if you're going racing on the weekend, Andrew, and you're doing a 15-minute moto, hey, Rory, surely you would be able to do a 15-minute moto. Surely, right? If you're doing these hour and a half cardio sessions, 15 minutes on the bike should seem easy. Should be ridiculously easy compared to the training that you're doing. But the funny thing is that it wasn't. It's like I still remember going out to coastal, especially going out to these rougher tracks, and I would be absolutely gutted. Like we went to, live in Perth. We went and rode it. We did 2 junior nationals at Coolum in Queensland, right? That track gets fucking rough. If you haven't been there before, if you've seen the nationals, the MX nationals, or Pro MX, whatever they call it now, that track gets bloody rough, right? Now I remember going there on my 85 at the time, and I was getting a couple of laps into these races and being absolutely cooked. We had a junior nationals as well here in Wanneroo, which is a deep sand track. Again, worse than cool. I was like a lap in. I wasn't even lasting a lap on this rough track, right? It was just like my level of fitness was here and the demands of the track were up here. And I was just not coping at all. I was an A grade racer and I'm struggling to put in a single lap at race pace just because the track was so rough and because my fitness was so like off from where it should have been. And again, like you would think all of that training, all of that work, surely you'd be able to put in a 10, 15 minute moto around the track, and yet I couldn't. And the reason that I couldn't, or part of the reason, is that I wasn't doing the right cardio. All of the cardio I was doing was longer distance stuff, endurance type training, like trying to be a triathlete, trying to be an Ironman, trying to be a marathon runner, trying to be a Tour de France rider. That's where I was heading, right? But really what I needed to be heading is I needed to be focusing on the anaerobic energy system. Because when I was at those tracks, when I was at Wanneroo, when I was at Coolum, yes, they were very rough. But those very, very rough sections that stood out from the rest of the track were zapping all of my energy. And so the reason I wasn't good at tackling those very, very rough sections is because my training was the complete opposite. So I'd go and race at Coolum, right? And there'd be parts of the track that were really rough. Then there'd be another part of the track which may be a little bit smooth, or I've got a good line, or like it's, there was a few big berms when I was racing there. So you got a little bit of a rest, and like going around some of the corners before you got into more whoops or more braking bumps. And so my training during the week, like my swimming, was operating at a consistency like this, okay, still giving 100% effort. It's just that I was operating at a level of intensity like this for an hour and a half. I was doing my cycling sessions, which were operating at an intensity like this for 45 minutes or an hour. When I was going to the track and going racing at Coolum or going racing at Wanneroo, it was the complete opposite. My intensity is going like this. Because I got some parts of the track that are really rough, some parts of the track which are a rest, some parts of the track which are really tough, like more braking bumps, some parts of the track which are a bit smoother, where I get a break. And I wasn't training that, okay? And it took me, I didn't figure it out. In my brain, I did not make the connection between those two. I was like, how is this shit not working when I'm training like 4 times longer, 3 or 4 nights a week than what I want to race on the weekend and still can't perform, okay? Still can't even do a couple of laps. And that's really the problem. I just didn't know what I was doing. So hopefully you found that helpful, guys. Okay, if you did, please give the video a like. They're the 2 areas. You need to train your anaerobic system and train your aerobic system, okay? And make sure that you've got both of those nailed on a continual basis. You're tracking your improvement to make sure you are actually progressing with both of those. On saying that, if you would like some help with this stuff and you would like an A grade level of cardio, an A grade level of fitness in the coming months, while only training 3 times per week for 1 hour, while only riding once per week, okay? I know that's a big claim. An A grade level of fitness, only training 3 times per week off the bike, while only riding once per week on the bike, okay? If that sounds good to you, fill out an application form, which I'll put in the comments for you below. It'll ask for a few simple details like your name, and then also some stuff which is a little bit more in depth, which will be what you're working towards with your riding, what your goals are, what the biggest challenge is for you with being able to reach that goal, and also why it's important for you as well. So I've just posted that up in the comments for you below. So if you'd like an A grade level of cardio, an A grade level of conditioning, while only training 3 times per week, and only getting on the bike once per week, then fill out the application form below. Give me as much detail as you can, and then I'll reach out to you and see if I can help or not. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and got some value from it. Look forward to putting some more together for you guys. Chat soon.